the Principality of New Antioch. For 300 years it has stood defiant, a citadel of stone and iron, blackened by centuries of smoke and siege, crowned with the banners of 1,000 dying nations. They call it the home of all our hopes, the blade of Europa, the fortress of the faithful. The city is a garrison of ghosts. Its streets are worn smooth by boot and bone. Its plazas echo with the laughter of men too tired to dream, and its towers watch forever toward the abyss, toward that titanic wound in the world, the gate of hell. The old city was the first to burn. In the year of our Lord 1545, Antioch the Lesser, once a jewel of the East, was consumed in an instant. A firestorm, too large and too sudden to be the work of man, descended like the wrath of an angry god. In its place was left a smoldering crater, where the air itself screamed. The survivors clawed their way through blood and ash, building their new city on top of the bones of the old. And when mighty Constantinople fell to the legions of Chimaris, Marquis of Hell, the eyes of the world turned to Antioch once more. In 1559, the Sword Congress met beneath shattered glass and skyless vaults. They decreed the impossible, that the city be remade. Not for glory, nor even for hope, but because the alternative, the loss of the Levant, was too terrible to contemplate. What they forged in the years that followed was not a city. It was a siege engine the size of a nation. Supply trains snake across poisoned lands, ships groan under the weight of tools and bodies, each one an offering to the principality. No coin is sent, only flesh. Food, arms, machinery, men. Engineers from the mountains of Bavaria walk beside Ethiopian riflemen. Irish friars shout sermons in the markets while Polish hussars sharpen their sabers on church steps. The city absorbs them all, crushes them together into a single, burning faith. Its walls are stitched with metal and monastic iron. Hundreds of anchorites, entombed warriors whose lives have been bled into their shrines, line the battlements. Their rusted faces never move, but their presence is a prayer of war, a silent hymn to martyrdom. Factories churn night and day. Their fires cast shadows that look like devils. The foundries melt flesh and metal together to birth the church's greatest weapons, the communicants, holy abominations sculpted from the cloned remains of the Redeemer. Every week, heretics burn. Their screams spiral skyward as incense, and the crowds roar hymns as flames dance in their eyes. Children are raised with the smell of charred sin in their nostrils. Soldiers who march under Christ's banner come from fractured states and broken empires. They swear allegiance to their own kings and cardinals, and only a few, true zealots, renounce all to kneel at the feet of New Antioch. These few make up the city's true heart, the standing army. Its ranks are filled with those who have nowhere else to go. Veterans of lost wars, sons of shattered nations, orphans of a faith that devours its own. Their livery is stained with centuries of blood, and they wear it like a badge of sainthood. No man's land stretches beyond the walls like an open grave. It devours all light, all sound. Patrols are sent into its blasphemous dark to gather whispers, maps, rumors of movement. Most never return. Those who do are changed, eyes too wide, voices too soft. They no longer speak of what lies beyond the crater, only of what watches. The demonic factions of hell do not march as one. It is their envy, their malice, their hatred of each other that has kept the world from being drowned. But even in their chaos, the devils are patient, immortal. They squabble, they war, they withdraw, but they always return. And each time they press harder. 8 great sieges have broken against Antioch's walls. Each one left scars deeper than the last. Statues of the dead line the streets, carved not by artists but by blind martyrs whose hands were guided by visions of glory. Great banners, stitched from the shrouds of the fallen, flutter above the gates. The faithful cheer them, but do not meet their gaze. The sky darkens a little more each day. The earth trembles with each whispered command of a hell prince. The gate pulses, wider now than in any recorded age, and the streets of New Antioch grow quieter, more reverent. Children do not laugh, lovers do not sing. The bells toll constantly, as if reminding the city that time has run dry. But the walls still stand. They will stand until the last saint is broken, until the last bullet is fired, until the last stone is red with blood. Lieutenant of New Antioch. They do not sleep, not truly. Even when their bodies collapse into brief spells of unconsciousness, their minds remain on the front. Maps and names haunt their dreams. Casualty lists whisper like phantoms beneath their eyelids. Every choice they make echoes in the bones of their squad. A lieutenant of New Antioch is not born. They are tempered. Some emerge from noble bloodlines, their titles inked in ancestral ledgers and stained by a lineage of sacrifice. Others claw their way upward, baptized not in chapel fonts but in shellfire and shrieking dirt. Regardless of origin, each lieutenant carries the weight of being the last thread holding a unit together. Their commands are not merely orders. They are vows, spoken in wind-blown trenches with hell pressing in from all sides. To waver is to invite damnation. To falter is to invite a massacre. In the trenches, despair is as contagious as the blood plague. A single moment of weakness can doom 100 men. The lieutenant stands between that moment and oblivion. They wear no crowns, no gold. Instead, they carry rust-pitted revolvers and shattered family relics. Their uniforms are patched with the cloth of dead comrades. Each decision they make is a liturgy of loss. Who is sent over the top? Who stays behind? Who gets to see another dusk? And when the line breaks, as it always does, they are the last to retreat, if they retreat at all. Trench Cleric. His robes are soaked in blood. His mouth tastes forever of ash and sanctified wine. He walks among the damned and the dying with a censer in one hand and a sword in the other. This is the Trench Cleric, the battlefield priest, the conduit between God and mud, who carries the weight of souls as others carry rifles. Each Trench Cleric bears a shrine upon his back, a warped and battered reliquary that sings with pain and memory. It might contain the finger of a saint, a sliver of the true cross, or the mummified heart of a forgotten martyr. Soldiers bow their heads as he passes, not out of reverence but fear, because to look too long into the eyes of a cleric is to glimpse the edge of the abyss they hold at bay. He does not perform sermons. There is no time for pageantry when the enemy howls just beyond the wire. Instead, he murmurs fragments of prayer between artillery blasts. He anoints the dying with soot and salt. He calls down divine wrath with a whisper and sears heretics with living flame. His miracles are brutal things, bones knit with screams, flesh reborn through agony. They say some clerics carry the voices of angels within them. Others say they no longer know whose voice they speak with. One thing is certain. Wherever a Trench Cleric treads, the ground becomes sacred. And in New Antioch, sacred ground always runs red. Sniper priest. They are blind, not by accident, but by ritual. Their eyes are plucked from their sockets in candlelit ceremonies, placed upon altars and left to rot in sanctified oil. This is the first offering, the first sacrifice in a lifetime of invisible warfare. Sniper priests see nothing, yet miss nothing. Their aim is not guided by sight, but by faith, pure and terrible. They are chosen from among the most fanatical of the Church's orders, trained in silence, meditation, and death. Their rifles are ancient, customized relics inscribed with holy texts, each round a prayer and a judgment. Their nests are scattered throughout no man's land, hidden in rubble and ruin, cloaked by the detritus of centuries of war. For days, sometimes weeks, they lie motionless, their breaths timed with the heartbeat of the earth. They chant litanies through cracked lips, their bullets kissed by confession. During the siege of St. Lux, an entire division of heretics refused to cross open ground after one of their commanders was killed at a distance of 3 miles by a sniper priest. No flash, no sound, only a hole between the eyes and a lingering scent of myrrh on the corpse. The sniper priest does not fight for glory. They fight for penance. And every bullet they fire is one more step into the dark, praying that when the final shot comes, God will be waiting on the other side of the scope. The Yommen. They are the spine of New Antioch, the countless ranks of common men and women who have given their names, their blood, and their futures to the principality. Farmers, cobblers, scribes, herders, orphans, sinners, and saints, all swallowed by war, reborn in uniform. They are the Yommen, the faceless legions who fill the trenches, man the walls, and die in the mud for a city that may never remember their names. Their training is brief, brutal, and often incomplete. Many are handed their rifles less than a week before their first encounter with the enemy. Some barely know how to reload before they are told to charge screaming into the dark. But they fight anyway, not out of blind faith, but because there is nothing else. To refuse is to hang, to hesitate is to die, to falter is to be left behind in no man's land, screaming as the carrion beasts of hell circle overhead. Though they lack the surgical lethality of shock troopers or the divine gifts of clerics, the Yommen are a legion. For every one that falls, another 5 take their place. Their strength is in their number, their stubbornness. They carry relic rifles, trench shotguns, infernal flame projectors, gas lances, and blessed bayonets scoured in holy oil. Many go to battle with scavenged armor or half-functional relics from a dozen crusades ago. They march knowing that most will not return. And still, they march. Because if New Antioch falls, all will burn. The shock troopers. They do not knock. They break. The shock troopers are the mailed fist of New Antioch, masters of close quarters, devastation, and storm assault warfare. When the heretics entrench themselves too deep, when no amount of artillery will move the line, the order goes out. And the shock troopers come, draped in blood-red trench cloaks and armed with short-barreled flamethrowers, scatterguns, and blessed blades. These soldiers are chosen not for their size, but for their brutality. Their tactics are simple: charge, breach, butcher. Their lives are spent in the seconds between whistle-blow and blood spray. Before each assault, they offer a prayer not for survival, but for a swift death, a clean death. Because there is nothing clean in the meat grinder of a trench charge. They are trained to ignore pain, to resist demonic whispering, to fight even when their limbs are no longer attached to their bodies. They operate in fire teams of 5 or 6, each one knowing the other's strengths and wounds, each one ready to drag their dying brother forward to plant the banner deep in enemy ground. They are not the heroes that are remembered. They are the nightmares that heretics whisper about when the front grows quiet. The combat engineers. The earth groans wherever they go. It is shaped, shattered, and scorched by their tools. Combat engineers are the forgotten saints of siegecraft, armored like walking bunkers, grim-faced artisans of destruction and creation. Their prayers are short and bitter. Their hands are burned and cracked. Their eyes are always calculating, always scanning the dirt for death. It is their duty to make the battlefield usable, which often means making it more lethal. They disarm mines by hand, detonate demonic obelisks with blessed charges, raise forward bastions in hell rain, and tear down the walls of hell itself with picks and thermite saws. Every step they take is in defiance of entropy, and the cost is horrific. Demolition work under fire is the closest thing to suicide short of martyrdom. They are buried alive, blown apart, but they do it anyway, not for glory, not even for God, but because the city needs its trenches dug, its fuel lines run, its towers maintained, and because somewhere behind them, someone else is praying that the engineers are still alive. The combat medics, Sisters of St. Cosmos. Mercy is not weakness. Mercy is a blade. The Sisters of St. Cosmos are the angelic revenants who stalk the wounded in no man's land. Where other soldiers fear to tread, they run into burning bunkers, screaming minefields, and piles of screaming half-dead men. With syringes in one hand and knives in the other, they do God's work. They are not pacifists. Their Hippocratic oath has been rewritten in blood and sanctioned by the office of the propagation of virtue. Aid the faithful, kill the damned. That is their creed. Each sister carries a surgical misericordia, half scalpel, half executioner's blade. They use it to save lives by slicing apart rot and ruin, and they use it to end the lives of enemy wounded who beg for false mercy. They wear armor marked with red crosses and white bone dust. The heretics target them first, knowing their value. But the sisters are never alone. God walks with them. And often so does a brace of shock troopers, with orders to keep them alive at any cost. When a sister weeps, it is not out of grief. It is because there are too many bodies and not enough time. And still she kneels in the muck and begins again. The mechanized heavy infantry. There are giants in the trenches, metal-clad titans whose footsteps rattle the bones of the earth and whose breath reeks of oil, incense, and chemical fire. These are the mechanized heavy infantry, warriors bred, broken, and reforged to wield the heaviest weapons in New Antioch's arsenal. They are not born. They are made. Only a select few are chosen, not for piety nor for lineage, but for the brutal, unpredictable alchemy of their blood. They are plucked from orphanages, prison pits, backwater farms, anywhere a spark might be hiding. Once identified, they are taken by the Mendelist monks, whose fortress monasteries squat in the ash wastes beyond the holy walls. Those who are chosen vanish from the world. Their names are struck from record. What returns is something else entirely. The transformation begins with the blessed chemicals, thick, bitter-smelling compounds stored in brass reliquaries and injected into the spine with needles the size of tent pegs. Muscles swell, bones splinter and reform, skin cracks and peels and hardens again, minds shatter under visions of fire-wreathed angels and cities falling into seas of blood. Many die, some go mad, a few endure. The ones who survive are not human anymore. Not fully. Their bodies are altered, grown to fit the suits that await them. Each suit of machine armor is a relic of unfathomable worth, a hybrid of orichalcum alloy, sanctified hydraulics, and prayer-etched steel, capable of turning back heavy munitions and shrugging off blows that would flatten a tank. But the armor cannot be reshaped, so the soldiers are. Children are stretched, broken, and reshaped over long years. Joints are realigned, skulls are reinforced, internal organs are shifted to accommodate the bulk and heat of the machine's womb. Some receive chemical nerve harnesses fused directly into their spines. Their weapons are monstrous, belt-fed mortar rifles, back-mounted flamers, breech chargers. Even the strongest normal soldier would snap in half trying to fire them. For the mechanized, it is second nature. They fight with unblinking precision, often acting as the bulwark of an assault, stepping into enemy fire, drawing the attention of horrors, and returning it with firestorms of unrelenting wrath. And yet, for all their might, they are not invincible. The Church will mourn the death of a soldier, but it will not forgive the loss of a suit. Machine armor is sacred. Should one fall, his brothers are trained to retrieve the body, or what's left of it, before the heretics can scavenge its secrets. If retrieval is impossible, they burn everything: flesh, steel, and soul. Better ash than corruption. Some whisper that those who wear the armor too long begin to change in other ways, that the suit becomes jealous, resentful, and hungry, that the heavy silence inside it starts to whisper, that the soul begins to merge with the machine. The Mendelists deny these rumors. They say the only sound within the armor is the voice of God, but many veterans sleep with the armor outside their quarters, and they pray it never calls them by name.